I won't stop thinking the bell again.
Right. Good morning, everybody.
Thank
Thank you. I'm not Aidan. Aidan is currently in the Lake District. This is right. And we are a few people down today, and there's assorted reasons given for why. So some are quite exciting. Matt is talking to Japan on an early call. That's nice. Like Japan. Corby is on a course. The Muji corner is depleted. Other people are on holiday. Vincent is in Ghana. Oh, that's pretty exciting for a wedding. Josh has an early client. Some people always gone for early work. I think the one that wins today's prize is Ben, who's being filmed on First Dates. Oh, Ben. Sorry, that's definitely the winner.
Very good.
So I'm going to ask the leadership to introduce themselves, and then we might have to tackle who's going to do the timing in the absence of our Vincent. Leadership team, please introduce.
Good morning, all. Paul, and I'm your social secretary. I was going to say Somerset from Somerset. I'd stop with that.
Good morning, you all know who I am, Scott, your meeting secretary. Yeah. And tired face.
That's nice.
And good morning, everybody. And I'm Terry. I'm standing in the today and I also deal with membership and
So can we have a volunteer for being the timer? Would anybody do that?
Yeah.
The power. Have the bell of power. Lovely. So I think we go straight to Scott. Are you well this?
Yes.
Performance lead.
Performance league, right. 3 weeks are recorded in so far. Last one today to get your stats onto the list. I'm going to read out everybody who has scored over 100 points, or I'm going to try to, because this writing is very small. So, Leanne 109, well done to you. 111 for Stuart, 140 for Paul Booth, 165 I think for Aidan Squire, me on 191, Toby on 191, 201 for Terry, 221 for Paul Corrigan, 258 for Dulieu, 415 for Matt. Really, it's going to win still. Yeah. Well done.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, you're really touched the mind.
Yeah. So,
So in the absence of Ben, are you taking over the introduction of the education slot? Great!
So in the absence of Ben, I'll take over the Thanks very much, Ben. So I'm going to repeat here, it's not me that's doing it, it's our friend Stuart.
Good.
I'll get it all out.
Morning, everybody.
good morning.
Behind me. Morning, everybody. Right, I want to speak to you about something that might sound a little bit counterintuitive this morning, and that's the importance of cannibalising your own business. Now, that doesn't sound particularly appealing. I mean, after all, why would you want to sort of deliberately kill off one aspect of your business that is particularly successful? But let me tell you why it's a good idea, and it's essential actually for your business survival. Let's take a little lesson from Steve Jobs. Now, Apple had a very, very successful product in the iPod. Remember that? No, iPod. Hundreds of millions of them sold. And then they developed the iPhone. Now, they could have easily chosen not to include the iPod feature on the iPhone and could have continued to have sold another tens of millions of iPods. But they didn't. They deliberately decided to include the iPod on the iPhone, therefore killing off a massive part of their own business. Steve Jobs' sort of rationale for that was that if they didn't do it, somebody else would. Okay, so if they hadn't waited for, if they hadn't got a music player on a phone, another company would have come along and done it. But instead, Apple decides to control the transition of that business, and therefore was one of the first people to dominate the phone market. And we all know what's happened since. Now, none of us are Apple, okay? None of us are making phones, but the principle still applies. Things are changing in business, in technology, in the way that we attract customers, the way that we engage with customers. And if you don't evolve your business, you're going to get left behind. Now, there are countless other examples. Now, Blockbuster, they chose not to move into streaming, yeah? But Netflix did. You know what's happened there. Kodak actually invented the digital camera. They invented it and patented it and then buried it. What happened there? Someone else, the other companies come along, take the idea, run with it, and we know what's happened to Kodak. The point is, if you don't disrupt yourself, then someone else is going to do it for you. Now, I'll say none of us are Apple or Netflix, and let's hope none of us are Kodak or Blockbuster. But how can you apply this? So, which of your products or services might become obsolete in the next few years? You have to take control of that narrative. You have to think ahead. Are you willing to replace a profitable offering with something better before your competitors do? Are you willing to innovate within your business, or are you just holding on to what's always worked? Now, it might not be the product itself. Okay, if I look at my own business, we sold telephone systems. You know, we could get a lump of metal and stick it on a wall. We could charge someone £5,000 for that, but we knew that that business was going to come to an end. We had to transition to selling phones themselves on hosted licenses. Licenses are sort of £5 or £6 a month. Now, that's very hard for us to manage, that we had to give up that big paycheck to transition to a small monthly recurring business. That was brave of us to do so, but having done that, we took control of the narrative. We were able to slowly transition our customer base from one method over to the next. You need to be thinking about doing the same. It's not easy to let go of what you've always known. Now, it might not be the product itself. It might not be your product or your service. It might be the way you communicate it. You know, have you always sent out email marketing? Maybe you need to look at what's coming next. Have you always done face-to-face meetings? Maybe your customers would prefer to be online. You need to think about what's always worked in your business, and is there a tide coming? Is there a wind blowing that you need to get on board with early? It might be the way that your customers pay for their products. Everything now is going towards monthly licensing, isn't it? So have you got a product or a service, instead of saying to your customers, hey, Mr. Customer, it's £1,200 a year for this service, maybe it's actually your customers will prefer to pay £100 a month. Yeah? You need to start to think about how your business can move forward. It's not easy, okay? Letting go of a winning formula feels really risky, but the real risk is waiting too long and waiting for your business, your service to become irrelevant. Best businesses don't wait to be disrupted. Don't wait to be disrupted. They lead the disruption. And you've got to look at your business, your product, your service, the way you deliver it, the way you communicate, and how can you be your own biggest competitor? Yeah, because you've got big competitors out there. You need to be your own biggest competitor and be a harsh critic of yourself. Because if you don't cannibalise your own business, somebody else will do it for you. That's it.
Whilst this is things, we had got some what's planned to be.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So I'm just going to pass two boxes. You just get your one for the moment, and the others will follow. Apple cards and things to show. Very good. So hopefully it was the 62nd round, and I've been made to do it the method where you nominate.
And one of the dudes.
Don't shoot the messenger. No, you must know it. And so, one last one. Do we have a?
Josh, apparently.
Oh no. So that then we don't have A, an Oscar, or B, a person to start it off? No, and Josh is having a 10 minutes after, so I want to see.
So I'm on next Scott.
All right.
Over to you, Scott.
That's fine. Basically, fair enough. What I thought I'd talk about this week is how, actually quite nicely following from Stu, my business doesn't stand still for a second. I constantly have to rethink how I'm working things. And I was going to say how both my small clients and the things I have to figure out there, and on the other side, my largest clients, the initiatives and ideas that we're doing translate across through all of the businesses. So one of the things I'm doing on a large scale, rather than dominate just page one, top position one of Google for toilet hire, my biggest competitor, we're building a directory of every toilet hire company in the country and listing them all on Europe. So when you're searching for that other brand name of toilet, because of their ranking strength, you're going to be Europe will still come up first. We're going to overtake people on their own bloody brands, is the plan. So some of those big bits of thinking scale down, some of the small bits of thinking scale up, and kind of, as Stuart suggested, the learning that we do across all of our projects feed into all the different projects we do. So that's me. I am going to. I've done that.
And you had a purpose this morning.
Toby.
Okay. In actual fact, completely changed what I was going to say for 6 seconds because of what Stuart just said. Absolutely embracing change, and that's why I encourage my clients when I first meet them on an ongoing basis to do a regular SWOT analysis. Those that aren't familiar, SWOT analysis is about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The first two are the bits that are internal to your businesses. Your strengths and your weaknesses. The things that you work for your strength, you work on your weaknesses. The second part is coming on to what Stuart was talking about, is the opportunities and threats. The things that are external to your business, but that you can take advantage of if you're prepared for them, or you can guard against. And the important thing is to always look at the threats and see them as an opportunity, because threats always bring change, change always brings opportunity. So when we're in the pandemic and people are saying to me, what do we do, what do we do? I was always saying, look, this isn't about surviving through this, it's about thriving. So always look for the threats, always look for the opportunities, see where the opportunity is in the threat. I know that SWOT analysis has been around for many years, and that's because it works. There are other things now, there's pesto analysis, things like that. I still come back to SWOT analysis. That's probably a dig around that now. So yeah, great head slot, and yeah, just SWOT analysis.
We're down to you.
Yes.
You've got about 70 seconds.
I am nominating Stuart.
Yeah, morning again.
Yeah.
Show the story. Just personally, networks from cloud service provider. So cloud service provider really provide all sorts of services that come from the cloud, right? So they basically all start with an internet service. On that internet service, you're probably going to want to run your IT services, your Microsoft licensing, your security products, that sort of stuff. You're also going to want to run maybe some telephony over there. You might want to use it for remote monitoring of things like, viewing or remotely looking at your CCTV cameras or turning your alarm systems on or off or anything like that. All those things are going to come from the cloud, but they're going to get to you via a secure internet connection. And that's one of the things that we really specialise in. The whole host of different sorts of internet connections. We specialise in good quality business connections, where stability is far more important than speed. Speed gets all the headlines, doesn't it, on the TV channels and things like that. But actually, the stability is far more important. Often you're better with a slower speed, but more stable service. that we can provide those for businesses absolutely anywhere. So if you know anyone who's looking for some help on their internet, their telephones, or their cloud services, please want to touch the links through the technology network. So,
Who would you like to nominate?
John.
Good morning, everybody. I'm John Hammond from JME. Today I'd like to talk about intruder alarms. We can supply intruder alarms for your home, for your small businesses, for any size of businesses really. And we use the Ajax product. The advantage of the Ajax product is you get the app on your phone. So not only can you actually control your alarms from your phone, but you can actually see what's going on and you get notifications of everything that goes on. And Scott got main traders on his app saying mains have gone off. But you can also see the pictures from inside your premises. So if the intruder alarm activates, you can see what's going on. And if you see someone in your house, just call the police. It's as simple as that. So if you want a good intruder system, give us a shout. That's John Hammond from JMH Technology, applying technology to security.
Thank you. Who would you like to nominate, John?
Catherine.
Oh, thanks.
Morning everyone, Catherine Foley, English tutor plus. So I'm currently very busy with tuition students, which is fantastic, but I'm expecting a very big drop in June because they're all going to have exams and I'm left with about 3. So I'm looking to book in students who are currently in year 10 or year 12, particularly, to take over when this lot finish. So if you know anyone who has children in those ages, please encourage them not to leave it till parents' evening around Christmas when there was a mad rush this year and I suddenly went from 6 and tripled it. And if they leave it that late, they're likely to end up with a really rubbishy tutor. And if you look online, there are a lot of really rubbish tutors who haven't got degrees, probably haven't got A-levels, and a lot of them haven't even got English as a first language. So if you want a really decent tutor, get in early and book me. Thank you very much.
Nomination.
Oh yes.
Morning all, I'm Paul from Solitaire Plumbing and Heating. Our new engineer John is putting in really nicely. He's fixing boilers left, right and centre, which is great. It's actually allowed me to have more time in the office, help grow Solitaire, help expand the company, help with the renewable side of the business, which we really need to focus on. We had a really good meeting with someone at Essex County Council on Monday, and she's told us to get in contact with someone called, there's a legendary name, his first name's Bean, his surname's Beanland. Beanland. And he's the heat pump guru, and he owns the Heat Pump Federation or whatever. So anyway, I messaged him on LinkedIn. He messaged me back. We're now like best of mates, also. Me and Bean. And yeah, so I've got a virtual meeting with him tomorrow, which should be good. So hopefully, fingers crossed, good things are coming. Anyway, thanks for listening. I nominate Melissa.
Good morning, everybody. Melissa Johnson from Kenway Francis, licensed consultant practitioner. So, as we reach the end of the first quarter of 2025, I wanted to reflect on the year so far. We've assisted over 18 businesses, dealt with over £1 million worth of assets, saved jobs of in excess of 13 employees, and paid dividends to creditors of nearly £250,000. We've also been involved in 6 High Court applications. As you know, I deal with both complex and simple insolvency situations. So if you do know anyone who's looking for some advice, please recommend me. Thank you.
Thank you. As would you nominate?
Jones.
Well, James from Brentwood General Insurance Brokers, so we'll have a crack at most things. Property owners seems to be popular at the moment, and property owners that want to save money. Apparently, they're being taxed out of it, legislated out of it, and they're not happy that they own lots and lots of property. So they phone me and say, "Can you save me some money?" One guy done that this week. I've got 39 properties. Can you save me lots of money? I went, "I'll give it to you." How much you pay? Not much, basically.
Oh,
So I looked at the paperwork, but you do know you don't have any substance cover on 26 of that number of properties. You do realise you haven't got flood cover on all of those, plus another couple. No one told you that. They did, because they sent documents with it written on it. No one told you it, but they sent you documents with it on page 7, paragraph 16, line 3. So I'm currently going to triple his insurance costs. However, he will have substance cover, he will have flood cover on all of them. So have I done a good job for him? I don't know. but he's got the right cover at the right price, and he knows what cover he's got, rather than just having a policy that he'll phone up and say 4 foot of water in my workplace, and insurers will go, we don't care. So, James, Brown General Insurance, I might not save you money. I'll fix that. I will go with there.
Good morning, everyone. Now, I want you to think of me as an investment more than an expense, let me speak. I save you money by making. I save you from making costly mistakes, so you do it once and you do it right. I can save you money by passing on my trade discounts, and I can save you time by doing the research for you. I save you overwhelm by narrowing down the options. Who wants to walk around furniture shops and paint shops at their weekends? You want to have fun, don't you? I do that for you, because that's my fun. I have access to items and things that the public, general public doesn't necessarily have. And using an interior designer can add value to your home. So if you know someone that's about to renovate, please put them in touch with me and let me help them and make their lives a lot easier and a lot more fun. The area of Brooklyn Interiors. Thank you, dear.
Nomination.
Oh yeah. I'll go with Terry.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good morning everybody. Terry Mason from Celebrants. Tapping on what Stuart said, my business changed quite a lot after COVID because I now have court hearings, and on one particular day I could be in Southampton in the morning, Newcastle at lunchtime, and Basildon in the afternoon. Not bad really. I could never get to those hearings otherwise. In addition, when I see a client, when I first make contact with a client, I always ask them how they like to communicate when they have a meeting and when they exchange. Some want to come into the office in Brentwood, we've got to help them. Most of them are happy to do a Zoom or a telephone meeting or Teams meeting, so it has changed dramatically the way that things work. Some for the best, some not for the best. It's not always easy during a court hearing to get across to a grumpy judge your point, who's, you can see his way with fairies, he doesn't want to be on the Zoom meeting, it's very difficult. But in-person meetings are much easier to get across the point. But it has changed dramatically, certainly more efficient, I'll give it that, when the internet works. And Stuart has been responsible for making sure mine does this week, thank you for that, Stuart. But yeah, so my business has changed, I don't know whether it's for the best or for the worst, but we've got to go with it, as Stuart said. I remain, see you more, thank you. And I'll nominate for tonight.
Good morning everyone, back from my home. We're still being banned on Facebook. So if anyone can recommend any other ways of marketing stuff I do without being banned, please let me know. Thank you.
Who do you know?
Oh, what's that?
Good morning everyone, John from Lockford, Bishop Slough. I'm a Lockford, sportsmith. One thing that I deal with quite regularly at the moment is people that have snapped their keys in the door. You can do it yourself, however there is a chance that you can push the key further into the cylinder, which means it's nearly impossible to retrieve. If you do give it a go, I recommend you get a little pair of pliers, a little pair of tweezers, and just try and just pop the little end out. What I do though is when I turn up is I've got a little kit. I was at a house the other day that they'd snapped a good portion of their key in the lock, so there was a little bit at the end for me to play with. What I've got is a little bit of wire that I basically screw into the cylinder, and then I can just gradually pull this out, and that then retrieves the key itself. The problem is when they go too far in, the pins can then pop up behind them, which then makes life very difficult because I'm having to try and push a pin down while trying to pull it out, and it's extremely difficult. Generally, when you get to that point, you're looking at potentially having to change the lock, unfortunately. So if you do snap a key in the door, give me a shout. I can probably advise you over the phone. And if you have any friends or family, tend to give me a call. Thank you very much. I'm John from.
John. Would you like to go next?
Oh, sorry.
Morning, everybody. Dave from Dulieu. We're NRC Registered Electricity at Brentwood. This week we got called out to a customer. She had no lights working in her utility room. Previously she'd fitted some retrofit LED lamps. This is going back years ago. And the ones that were working were really, really dim. So I suggested to her that we we replace them with a modern integrator type. So you can see how the technology's moved on. That one's probably about 10 years old. This is the current one. This one actually gives out more light for less energy. So if you're thinking about upgrading your lighting or decorating, you want to change your lights, think about changing to this type, because you will save energy for very little cost. So that's it really. Just anything to do with lighting, please give me a call. It's Dave, Metro Electrical.
Thanks, Dean. And who's going to fire you?
Mike.
Morning everyone, Mike from Blackwater Media. I want to talk about food and nights out today. We all know people eat with their eyes first when they're going out. So if a restaurant or a venue doesn't look good online, chances are people aren't even going to bother giving it a chance. They're just going to browse by and look for the next one. Good photos on the website don't just make the food look good, they set the mood for the whole experience you can have there for the night. Warm atmospheric shots of restaurants, busy restaurant environments, beautifully lit table spreads. It all makes a huge difference to people scanning through the options they've got when they go through Google and deciding where they're going to go for a night out. It's also just about websites, social media, the physical menus that are actually given out, the online booking platforms they use. They all rely on good visuals to convince people to buy food off them. Even the best venues are going to struggle if their photos make everything look a bit crap. A quick refresh with professional images can instantly make a place look more appealing, more premium, and more worthy of the first visit. So we're coming out of winter now into the summer season. Loads of venues are starting to change up what they're going to do for the next few months. So if you know any restaurants, bars, or venues that could do with some fresh, high-quality images, please put me in touch. Might come back into media. Thank you. And I will nominate Nick.
Thank you.
Well, good morning. You know who I am, what I do. This is the first for me. I used AI to prepare my 60 seconds. It reads like this. Structural engineers play a vital role in helping homeowners ensure safety and stability of their homes. They design the framework of homes to withstand various forces, such as wind, earthquakes, snow loads, to ensure the structure is safe and stable. So if you're planning to carry out alterations to your home, a structural engineer will assess existing structures and provide solutions to incorporate new features without compromising safety. If you see cracks in your walls or notice that your doors are sticking, an engineer can evaluate the situation and identify the cause and look at any repairs. So in summary, the structural engineer is essential for safeguarding your home, guiding renovations, diagnosing problems, and ensuring compliance. This message has been generated by ChatGPT. This was generated by me.
Yes.
So despite getting close to retirement, I believe it's never too late to get up to speed with the tick. I'll let you know, I'll get on.
And who's going next?
Clara's next.
Thank you.
I'm Clara Downton, Downton Mortgages and Financial Services. It's been a busy month this month, which in some ways is normal, which is nice. We do tend to get busier in March as kind of properties sort of seem to be the focus for people. And I went to see some estate agents yesterday and I was just chatting with them about, what they're seeing, and they've said, they have seen things being quite busy at the moment. Obviously they have the change in stamp duty coming up, so they've got a lot of completions in this next few days. But I think, there is definitely some more vibrancy into the property market. So if you know somebody who's thinking they might want to move, needs to work out what they can do and what their budget might be, then, I can work all the numbers through with them, give them sort of ideas as to what might be possible, what the costs look like, and really help them to understand what they might want to do. So yeah, if you know anyone who might need some help with all of that, then give me a shout. Clara, Downton Mortgages and Financial Services.
Thank you. And who's going next?
Howard.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Clear financial advice, but independent financial advisors. Last year I was at a conference and I met a company with a really cheesy name called Clever Investment Management. And after rolling my eyes a few times, this guy, and pretty sarcastically asked them all, what's going to put this in? And they gave me a very brief explanation. And after I thought, yeah, it does sound quite clever. So I had quite a long meeting with him a couple of weeks ago, and it's too intriguing to ignore. So we're going to go down the due diligence process, and this might be a company we bring as part of our investment proposition for clients. It's different to anything we've ever come across before, and fortunately it's not as complicated as I feel it might be, so I might be able to explain it to clients as well. So we have a proposition, but it's always changing. We're always refining it. There's no such thing as a perfect proposition when you're investing money, because things change and things innovate, as Stuart alluded to earlier. And it's a never-ending project for us. And our proposition has changed, I'd say, over the last 10 years. It's changed 7 or 8 times. It's always evolving and always continuing to evolve. So if you come across people who want a knife that doesn't sit still, you know it's a simple. And I'll nominate Paul Dulieu.
Good morning, everyone. Paul Dulieu, Essex Celebrants here. We help you celebrate and commemorate lives and lives. So now, let's ask a question. Who here has a will? Yeah? That's excellent, everyone. If you haven't got a will, speak to Adrian, you can sort it out. But it's great when you're thinking about your loved ones when you finally shuffle off your water call. Second question though, who here, in their will or separately, has told their family how they'd like their funeral to be? Excellent. It's good to see you. For those people that haven't, it's something you should really consider, because even in my limited experience so far, when I meet with a family whose loved one has actually shared some of their thoughts and ideas about how they'd like their funeral to be, the process for the family is so much easier. They don't have to stress and worry about whether it's a religious ceremony, what music it's going to be, whether it should be uplifting or mournful, whether they should be buried, cremated, and so on and so forth. And when you've lost a loved one, there's so many things, so many emotions you're having to deal with. That having a little bit of guidance on how they would like their final send-off to be could be a massive, massive help and make the process much easier and the grieving process much simpler. That's it for me. Paul Dulieu, Essex Celebrants, helping you celebrate and commemorate lives and get milestones. Thank you. I will nominate.
I don't think you have a choice. Hello, everybody. Well, quite often what we're sending out with the English Green Tea Company is a box about this size, and it's filled with afternoon tea for two. The cakes, the scale scones, the cream, the jam, the tea, and of course all the lovely sandwiches. However, what I'm delivering tomorrow is the same size outer box, but inside are 20 individual green teas. Each little box, which will be charming, has its own small jam, small pot of cream, small scale or scone, a little knife and a napkin, and it's a self-contained green tea for 20 people. And tomorrow's one has been bought by someone whose mummy is in a care home in Felsted, and she's sending 20 green teas for everybody on the same floor, all to have a celebratory. It's very charming, isn't it? But this works very well for a meeting or anything where you've got a team together and you just want them to all have a little hug in the box. It doesn't have to be a great big thing. And they'll all go chilled anywhere on mainland UK. So we're not just about big treats for just a few people. We can be small treats for a lot of people. Auntie Jane is sitting there. Thank you, everybody. And we swiftly nominated at the top table our Terry to be the equivalent of the Oscar.
Excellent, really high quality. I think Stuart, you've encouraged it because it is a really high quality presentation. You know, genuinely. Difficult to pick the top one, but there were two. I think I'm going to go a bit off piece because, and I'm going to say, Nick, you came third. That was really good. Quite decent technology. You delivered it in a human way. Very impressed. Really good. Thank you very much for that. But the two joint winners are Riyadh. Excellent. Really good. Passionate. Great message. And James. Great message. You know, it's not all about the price. If the price is too cheap, why is that? You know, so really good. Well done. There's not a it's not a handout. So you both get a virtual Oscar. Well done. Well done, Nick.
Rather unsurprised. That's fantastic. Do we have a meeting secretary?
You do, yes. Chuck it together on your thing.
Last week, somebody withdrew a one-to-one with Toby and thanked Corey for £132 worth of business, but neglected to put their name on it. So it's going, depending on
132 with me. 1-to-1.
Yourself?
I might have done.
Well, good job, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
I've got 2 1-to-1s come through to me. with my name on, and I don't know who they were from.
That wasn't me.
Well, I had one with you.
So should I put it
You
in
put one with us,
again?
yes.
132 through again. You can't have points for having one-to-one with yourself. We all have them all the time. Okay. Well, we've kind of cleared that up, maybe, perhaps. We've recorded 13 new referral opportunities this morning, which is wonderful. I looked at this, I started doing my quick mental arithmetic. Not everybody pushes very firmly on the top sheets. So I started adding it up and I thought, oh, actually, £3,000, £1,400, and I kept going through, and then I realised that was £14 and 0 pence, and then it was £30 and 0 pence. So actually, we recorded less than £1,000 worth of business on it, which I don't think is true, but it's what it is. So not a great amount of money recorded this week. But you asked for a report.
Right. Well, the next section, we're going to need a drum roll shortly because we're heading in this direction. But can I pass to you, please, to introduce? Thank you.
I'm sorry I can't tell you who next week's speakers are or anything, but you have to look at the email and listen out the messages from Ben. Hopefully you know who you are. But this week we've got a person who's giving, I say their debut, it is and it isn't, because they've already given a debut in the past, but this is a debut under their new business. So it's a great pleasure to introduce Paul Dulieu from Essex Celebrants. The nature of the business is civil celebrancy.
It's easy to say.
Civil celebrancy, the businesses there are covered on Essex. I've seen that as the name giveaway. He's given us some things to tell you about, and we know a lot about Paul because, as I say, he was a previous guide, but he's given us a few things. Some of them are boring, but let's skip them. With £1 million cash, he thinks he would still be a celebrant. I'm telling you, he wouldn't. He would bin us a lot. He would buy a little Caribbean island, him and the missus would be off. No, you know. I bet he used to be really quickly. I can use it. I just accept it. What's happening? Do you like advert? The Queen? I mean, Lady Gaga, what is it? Hip hop. That I've got to do. A sentence on his headstone. Oh, this is not everyone puts this. He learned from his mistakes, you know. Oh, it's really good. Hold them in.
Oh, here's some thoughts. Brilliant. So if you could give me a ding around about 15 minutes. Set my time in there. Something, I'm sure it's so good.
Let's stand there, that'd be great.
Good morning, everyone. As you know, I'm Paul Dulieu. My business is Essex Celebrants, and we create and deliver meaningful, unique, and personalised ceremonies to honour and celebrate life's milestone moments. They're moments about love, they're moments about loss, and they're moments about new beginnings. Whether it's welcoming a child with a naming ceremony, celebrating love through a wedding or vow renewal, or honouring the life of a loved one through a funeral or memorial event. Every ceremony we create is unique, and it's special as the people it's for. And love is at the heart of everything we do. Now, before I continue, I want to acknowledge that today I will actually be talking about funerals and grief. I know this can be deeply personal. I know that it can be difficult for people. So if you do need to step out, or you do need to zone out for a while, then absolutely fine. Your well-being comes first. That said, I do hope that what I share with you today might be helpful, either now or in the future. Because while grief is something we all experience, how we process it and say goodbye makes a real difference. Now, I know talking about funerals first thing in the morning isn't exactly a British way. We tend to avoid the subject at all times until we absolutely have to. It's a little bit like sex. We all know it's part of life. Most people hope to experience it at least once. But we don't exactly sit and discuss it over breakfast. But stick with me, Because this isn't a sad story. It's about why I do what I do. It's about helping people make life's most important and often most difficult moments truly personal, meaningful, and special. As many of you know, I haven't always been a celebrant. My career began in accountancy, and after going to university in my late 20s, I moved into corporate communications, public relations, and investor relations, a field I've worked in for more than 3 decades. My job in corporate communications has been to help businesses tell their stories, crafting messages, engaging audiences, and making an impact. It's taken me from the Congo to Cologne, French Guiana to Felixstowe. It's been rewarding, it pays well, and I've met some incredible people along the way. I'm also really quite good at it. But if I'm honest, it was never my calling. It was something I rather fell into. What I do now, though, in my celebrancy, is different. I feel like it is a calling. And in many ways, it's not that far removed from my previous work. Because instead of helping companies tell their stories, I now help people tell theirs at the most meaningful moments of their lives. So, why, you might be asking, did I become a celebrant? Why is my focus on funerals? Why would anyone choose to work with people at one of the hardest times of their lives around a subject that's so sad and that most people find difficult to talk about? Well, I come from a really large family on my mum's side. And I've attended, and I did a count up the other day, and I've attended more than 30 funerals of aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, over my short life. And still counting. And many of those funerals, I'll be honest, were instantly forgettable. The people we were saying goodbye to were special. The funerals just followed the formula. They were respectful, yeah, but frequently they were just so impersonal. And I often left leaving these funerals thinking, that wasn't the person I knew. But 3 funerals in my life have shaped my belief in what ceremony should be, and have had a profound effect on me actually standing here today talking about my own business as a ceremony. The first was over 30 years ago. A close friend of mine, one of my best friends, who died in his early 20s, far, far too young. But his family created a service that absolutely encapsulated everything about him. Every word, every detail, every piece of music reflected who he really was. And even now, when I hear Tear Us Apart by INXS and Live Forever by Oasis, they stop me in my tracks and they take me back to that moment. And even now, talking about it, I get goosebumps. It was so powerful, the whole funeral. And it made me feel, it made me reflect, and it made me truly honour his life. It wasn't just mourning, it was celebrating the richness of a life, no matter how short it was. The second funeral that had a profound effect on me, as it will for many people, was when my father died. I had the honour of writing the eulogy on behalf of my family, designing the order of service, helping choose the music, and actually delivering a lot of the funeral service. It was one of the hardest but most rewarding and meaningful things I've ever done, because shaping a ceremony that truly reflected him, his personality, his values, his life, made the grieving process so much easier. It wasn't just about saying goodbye, it was about celebrating who he was. The third funeral was 3 years ago. It was my Auntie Marge. The celebrant delivered a service that was unlike any other that I've ever experienced. It was sad, yeah. It was also funny, it was emotional. It came out of it really uplifting, thinking about a lady who had lived a life full of adventure and fun and love. And it was difficult to remain sad after that because the enduring memory of her the last moment of hers was really uplifting. And at the wake afterwards, the atmosphere was vibrant. It was more like a wedding reception than it was a wake. And a lot of that was down to the fact that the celebrant really captured her essence in that service. And at that point, I thought this was a bit of an epiphany. I'd thought about this as a career change for quite some time, having done my dad's funeral and reflecting on my friend Dan's funeral. But that was the point. I thought, you know what, I can do this. I've got the skills to do exactly the same. I've written eulogies, planned a funeral service, and through my career, I've told stories for businesses through news releases, articles, blogs, and speeches. The difference now, though, is instead of telling stories about contract wins, convertible loan notes, and goodness knows what when it comes to corporate listed companies. I tell stories of love. The love for a partner, the love for a child, the love for a life well lived. When I decided to become a celebrant, I knew I wanted to do it properly. This isn't just about turning up and reading a script. Throughout my career, I've worked in professional environments. In my corporate communication career, it's about professionalism. It's about helping the company in a professional way. And I want to transfer that to what I'm doing with my celebrant business. I want people to know that when they're dealing with me, whether it's an undertaker or whether it's a family, they can rely on me 100%. They're getting absolute professionalism. They're getting quality. So I signed up. I did lots and lots of research into training providers and organisations in the celebrants industry. It's an unregulated industry. You need no qualifications. You need no training. You need no experience to be able to say you're a celebrant. But I thought, no, I want to do it properly. So I did a completed successfully residential training course with the International College of Professional Celebrants. And I'm now a member of that. I'm also continuing my training by studying for formal qualification in civil celebrants. I'm committed to continually developing my skills and becoming one of the best, and to always ensure that the ceremonies and services I craft for families are professional, deeply personal, truly meaningful. But why does this all matter? Probably wondering. There's been an uplift, certainly since the pandemic, of what's called direct relations. So somebody passes away, and rather than having a funeral service, a cremation takes place, and family receive the action, and they say, right, we'll have a memorial service at a later date. And there's been quite an uplift, and it's cheaper, and the cost of living crisis has emphasised this, because it is a lot cheaper. Well, funeral isn't just about saying goodbye or saying the right words. It's about the people there feeling something. It's about connection. It's about meaning, and most importantly, it's about helping people process grief. Research shows that funerals and rituals around death are crucial to help grieve. A recent study published in the peer-reviewed academic journal Death Studies found that funerals help people acknowledge the reality of death, express their emotions, and receive community support. 3 essential elements in helping you successfully navigate grief. Conversely, when people don't have the chance to take part in these rituals and services, the grieving process becomes much harder. Research from the COVID-19 pandemic showed that restrictions on funerals, where only a few people could attend, led to increased cases of depression, post-traumatic stress, and something called prolonged grief, where the processing and the overcoming of grief and dealing with grief became a much longer and more difficult and straining and protracted process. It turns out we actually need these rituals, we need these events, we need funeral services to remember, to celebrate, to come together and to start dealing with the grief process. They help us cope, they give us structure, they provide an opportunity for collective mourning and healing. They're a shared experience and we're creatures that benefit from shared experiences, and it's a shared experience about something very sad that can actually help us. And ultimately, they make our loss easier to deal with. This deep need for ritual and remembrance is beautifully captured in the following poem. It's called A Life Well Lived. A life well lived is a precious gift of hope and strength and grace from someone who has made our world a brighter, better place. It's filled with moments, sweet and sad, with smiles and sometimes tears, with friendships formed and good times shared, and laughter through the years. And when the time has come to part, we hold on to these memories bright, to celebrate the life they live and keep their spirits in our sight. And that's what I help to do, and that's why I do what I do. At the end of the day, funerals aren't about how someone died, they're about how they lived. And people deserve to have their stories told in a way that honours them and in a way that helps those people that are mourning their loss. Helping families say goodbye to their loved ones is both a profound responsibility and a deep privilege. It's why I'm so passionate about this work and why I'll never take it for granted. Thank you for your time. If anyone has any questions, I'm very happy to answer them. And if you want to know more, or if you like a chat, either after the meeting or on the phone about grief, about funerals, then I'm very happy to speak with you. Thank you.
Does a funeral, I don't mean burial or funeral, have to take place in a particular day?
Funeral, unlike a wedding, can anywhere as long as you've got the building or the landowner's permission. So you can have your funeral service here.
Right.
Obviously, they're probably not shut for the day. But you can have
even with a coffin?
Yeah, with a coffin. You can have your funeral service in your back garden, you can have your funeral service in our golf club, the rugby club, your favourite pub, or whatever. You can have it anywhere as long as you've got building owners' permission. The burial is slightly different.
Yes. We could have funerals by anno night, where there's explosions of smoke going off and going out to bed.
That's what I aim to do, which is give people exactly what they want. And when I mentioned in my 60 seconds, helping your family by telling them how you would like your funeral to be, that takes out,
yes.
If you want fancy dress and a Caribbean steel band in your funeral service rather than music being played, absolutely fine.
Yes.
Terry.
Following up from what James did, I would say to travel to Nag's Head for
Okay.
just asking for a friend.
I'll travel in.
Very good. Well, I'm just thinking that this conversation shouldn't really be after someone's died, when people are at their most emotional and full of, oh God, why didn't we ask what it you meant? And so it makes me think that a further service could be an evening, even with a light supper, discussing, because it could be light-hearted but genuine, and all sorts of things could get said that can't be said later. Would that be a possibility?
Absolutely. I've got a form that I can send to people, and it will be available on my website place, so I can get that up and running. Where you can download it, you can fill in sort of the rough details you like, possible music you like, possible readings, whether you want it to be a religious service, uplifting, fancy dress, goodness knows what. And you can have it attached to your will. You can put it in an envelope and just let your family know where it is. Because even in my limited experience so far, those families that have an idea about what their loved one would have wanted find the whole planning process and the process around people so much easier than people that sit in the game and have no idea. So,
how do you a scenario? So I'm an atheist, non-religious person. My wife is quite religious, and I wouldn't know the first thing to do and how to manage a Catholic funeral, and several of them have much of an idea on a kind of humanist, non-religious funeral. How do you cross over and do you guide on getting that right?
yeah, sure. I mean, first and foremost, I'm not humanist. Humanist is effectively a religion about non-religion. So I'm sort of non-denominational. So if somebody comes to me, as they have, and say, right, well, my wife was Catholic, didn't go to church, we like Catholic elements in the funeral, that's absolutely fine to do that. Someone could come to me and say, well, actually, they weren't religious at all, but they really like the idea of Buddhism. Can we have some Buddhist readings or prayers? Absolutely fine, can do that at all. So in what I create, I can incorporate all of that. You tend to find that somebody is Catholic would probably want a priest to do a funeral, and I'm not a priest. But I could actually do a full Catholic mass as a funeral. It's not copyrighted, as long as the people understood that I'm not Catholic priest, and it's more the words and the sentiment rather than the actual service. But I mean, absolutely, the content of a funeral service can be a civil celebrant funeral service. It can be anything we want. It can all be done in rhyme. It can be done in rap. I'm not very good at it. I like it. Like I said about the fact, people do have fancy dress funerals. One of my uncles had a civil celebrant led funeral, and the music he came into the chapel at the crematorium was the theme from Only Fools and Horses. It was his favourite. There's absolutely no limits within the realms of good taste. But I'm happy to guide anybody, and the fundamental thing for me is helping people through this difficult process of grief. And so I'm happy to talk to people, to guide them, even if I don't even do the work, because it's something that's so important. It's something that is easy to get wrong, and you can only do it once. You can't cremate somebody twice, you can't bury somebody twice. Sure, you can have a memorial service, but getting it right that first time is so important for your memories going forward about that person, because it's a defining moment in their life. When it's your father that dies, you grew up as a kid. That's the full stop, and that's the end point, and you remember the destination of things, you remember that end point of your life. So making that funeral service as perfect as it can be, with no regrets about, oh, we wish we did this, wish we did that, is an important factor.
Any more questions? Yes.
More of an observation, but it almost seems like you're a counsellor to them as well, in a roundabout way.
I wouldn't consider myself a counsellor. I think I'm far better qualified and skilled in giving counselling. But what I do is kind of helping guide people through that process of planning and through that process of thinking about this important event, which is fundamentally important in the grieving process. And I will guide people. If people seem to be struggling with and need additional support, I can guide them to sort of third-party agencies or third-party organisations. Really, my job is to hold their hand and guide them through that process of planning the funeral, so that when the funeral service is over, you almost see a sort of lifting of the weight, because they've said goodbye in exactly the way they wanted, the way that their loved one wanted, and they can start moving forward.
Oh. Yes, so we're going to, well done.
First time.
To work at this point, I think it's about referrals and testimonials and literally choosing a speaker prize list. Thank you.
Okay.
So shall we start at the naughty
Let's do that.
corner?
That's great, Paul. Thank you. I'll say it's one of the most unrevealed activities we've ever had. A little tear came to my heart when you started talking about your dad's funeral, so let's not do that again. Okay. That's for Clara, someone going through a nasty divorce, needs some rules advice. And that's for Clara, 8 students. Very well. Thank you.
There are some people, Paul, you could stand up and you wouldn't have to say what you did. I think people would work it out pretty quick. You're natural, the way you talk, the way you deliver, absolutely makes sense. So excellent.
Yeah, brilliant meeting. Good as Stuart. Paul, brilliant. Thank you. You'll be supervising my funeral.
Not too soon.
No, it's not. I do joke with my wife, and she says to me, "Well, I'll be gone before you." I said, "Well, I don't know. It depends whether the good Lord takes me on the M25 or not. I get on spend a lot of time. She says, don't talk like that." I've got an activity record for a synergy meeting. Oh, last week. What do I do with that? Oh, it's in the box. That was great. AI is the way forward.
You finished?
Yeah.
I completely agree with Stuart. An absolutely natural moment. And thanks for the edge, Stuart. Let's start Stuart as well. I have a referral for Dave. Is Dave here? Well, for doing an electrical test for us. Referral for Matt, who's not here. And a referral for Catherine for Ivy's homework. I've actually got it here.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Do you want that as well, or do you want me to scan it again?
That's fine.
Thanks very much.
Very good slot, and it's just really moving that doing the same presentation. I've got one for Corey, who's not here. I got to him yesterday. He's someone I know is moving house. One for James. And one for Auntie James' teacher meeting last week.
Thank you.
That was a fantastic head slot, Stuart. Really enjoyed that. Very helpful as well, yes. And Paul, yeah, as everyone said, you're clearly going to be an absolute natural at it. I look forward to, in a year's time, when you've got some entertaining stories to tell us of strange funerals and things like that. And I've also made a note that I need to make a will, get you to be the celebrant, and so you've got to raffle with it when you're there. So I'll put that down. Not for my benefit, just for the humiliation and everyone else's fun. John, we still have a one-to-one afterwards for a few minutes. Yeah, cool. Blake, kind of got talking about a vague idea for your advertising, so we'll chat afterwards. We'll do it. No, it's just John's the one-to-one.
Yeah, they said, and Stuart, it's like, we spoke just before you stood up. Obviously, you're very much at it, but having the options do that in the eyes, as opposed to how restricted you were not that long ago, it's just fantastic. If you can get someone to deliver it the way you inevitably will, it makes a world of difference. Yeah, that's
I think got a referral to Matt right here. One-to-one with Scott and Catherine. We won a quiz as well.
Hey.
One-to-one with John. I was at the Synergy meeting, and we put through the system, and thank you for the money to pull you. That's it.
Yeah, great meeting. Great 2 minutes. I was told I wasn't allowed to have a hot fire in the funeral. That's why now. What, you can send out a river and yourself fire?
That's the tricky bit.
Takes
Takes a bit of planning.
I got a phone call money to Scott. Thank you to Synergy meeting for Jane.
Thank you, darling.
And thank you to Scott for the money. And thank you to Stuart for the headstock. Oh, that's it down.
Again, everyone said it. The S-Box this morning really kicked off a bit of the meeting next one. Paul came out, or was it Paul? It was one of his newbies, I think, came out and basically broke his hat in Mum's kitchen. Blake ration packs, or you can get into which happened over Easter. There for Ben, he's got two of his mates, and hopefully they can all those as well. For that, it's for Blake. I've got 2 crates of liquid death in the back of the van. It's just water. Yeah, it's really good. Just water.
I'm sure that's all one age you like
Oh, possibly. And Paul, terrific 18-minute presentation. Really very good. I'm looking forward to presenting your business out to the rest of the world and learning more about it. So,
Well done. Thank you very much. This is Synergy 2. Thank you very much. So Stuart, thank you for starting us off with wonderful food for thought. That alone, I'd love to press pause and then just digest and think through how it applies to me, then press go again. That was really good. Thank you. And I really enjoyed that. I think I need to order one of your grasp the nettle pre-funeral meetings and bounce around ideas. And if my sons are there, it's going to be hilarious. The most marvellous evening. I appreciate that very much. That's excellent. And Nick, I too have an idea for you, if I can grab you afterwards or in the due course. Thank you.
Well done, Stuart. Sets the meeting off just right if we get the right head slot and the right tone. It's heard how many people picked up on it, so thank you for that. That's really thoughtful. I've experienced Paul's Celebrants business firsthand. It's excellent, and I'm sure you'll build on that. It's really relaxed, very personal. Yeah, it's great compared to other things I've been to, where there's been a traditional vicar or whatever, just so rigid, if you like. And Paul's was much more relaxed, much more personal. It's great. It's a consumer company base, so forgive me. No, it was really good. So.
Cheers. Thanks.
Nice.
Right. Thanks to James. Synergy meeting, but no, she's just here.
Oh, yes, she's
Well, testimonial for James for one for free. I've bought loads over the years for clients and customers and friends. I mean, Catherine bought one for herself last week. It's lovely, thank you. Testimonial for Stuart. Had IT problems all week, all by phone and broadband, all sorts of stuff. Stuart went beyond the call. His own workers couldn't get to me because I'm in the middle of nowhere in Whitwood. And they're all over the place, literally all over the country. He got my downstairs neighbour who's a computer company, got them to come up and fix it. So thank you very much for going beyond it. I appreciate that. And thank you very much for the soap. So a little bit different.
Very good.
Really enjoyed the S tonight, thank you. And Paul, I definitely want to have a chat with you with my wife so we can sort out the pre thing. So she's very, she's got one herself set up, but I think it'd be good to do as well. I've got, obviously I had the Synergy meeting with Jane last week, and I had a one with Toby, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank
Yeah, fantastic meeting. Really luxurious slot, so much so that I completely changed my system. So I've got one ready for next week now. I got to thank you for the money for £132 for court. I had a one-to-one with Natalie yesterday, and John came along as well. Natalie's his lovely wife. It's interesting. So there we go. Pass that to Natalie. I have a one-to-one afterwards with Leanne and Catherine. So goodbye to that one. Had a BTC last week with Jane. Thank you very much for that. And James, I need apparently to get some PI and PL shares. I've been told by clients.
What a fantastic meeting. Really enjoyed the education stuff from Stuart. My mind was in a wheeze as you were speaking. I agree with Jane. Sometimes it'd be nice to just press pause and go, think about that and write that down and then start off again. But I've got some great notes from that. A real big food for thought. 10 minutes. Fantastic. I think that Dulieu is going to sound really gushing. I think Dulieu is a wonderful soul. I think it's fantastic that you found your thing, and I've not everybody does. And clearly, you just made the job. So I wish you every success in what you do. I'm sure that lots of us will be using the services in years to come.
No rush.
Long way. I'm waiting, Bob. But there you go. I haven't got any referrals about. I need to speak to Stuart about something we talked about briefly a couple of weeks ago. I was meeting.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mention all your excellent 10 minutes. Thank you. And you mentioned it's a calling, and actually you know that is because I remember sitting around my kitchen table nearly 4 years ago. I asked Paul, what do you really want to do? He said, I'd love to be a celebrant. So,
I think you're taking the credit.
Great Ed thank you. Definitely feasible. I agree with everybody else. It's really, I don't know you very well. I know you very long, but I agree with everybody else to the warmth and fucking calmness that comes from you. So you'll have a referral from me one day. If Snoop Dogg's my favourite phone call. Yeah, great meeting everybody, and see you next week.
Fairly hopeful I'll live longer than Snoop Dogg. I know it's such a monster.
Great, thanks last year. Great presentation. You can see the passion in what we're on doing. Fantastic. I'll get to some bad funeral where the person doing it doesn't know the person who's dying. You can tell what they're saying. No clue whatsoever. And that's hurtful. I've got a synergy for Jane, and I'll see you all. And I'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
I'm still a bit emotional wreck after that. It's gone from cannibalism to grief. So I was eating with us. One-to-ones with Paul and Scotty, a great quiz victory and one on Clara.
Yeah, great. I went to a funeral not that long ago, and the guy couldn't get the name right, and it was so bad. And you're just like, it's fairly fundamental to know how to say somebody's name at their own funeral, and so it really does make such a difference, because that is my memory of that funeral, is that you got the name wrong. That's not really what you want to be taking away. So yeah, totally agree with all of that. Yeah, great Ed Stuart. Got a few bits and pieces. John, thank you so much for helping me sort out my front door. And as I said, my neighbour was then having similar issues. So I went and said, either way, you might want to contact them. So that's a referral for John. Jane, as I said, my friend is having 40th and asked who did my 40th birthday buffet, so I gave them details out and I'll chase that with her tonight.
Thank you, Claire.
And then, yeah, great one-to-one Catherine, and Shannon attended the Synergy meeting, so that you would have exposed in it. But yeah, great meeting. Thanks very much, everybody.
Today's lunch.
That's it.
Oh, Scott. Oh, this school.
First one of the day.
Very good. So we're heading to the tail end. We're at announcements and reports. Are there any announcements and reports? I have one, if nobody else does. So I just want to mention last week we had a synergy meeting. We tackled the topic of AI. And a few people in the room turned out to be really masters of this craft, in particular, our Lee. And it fires us up, so much so that us Luddites went home and tried some things out. And so we'd definitely be interested if they would take a time on and have it as a meeting topic or something, or even if we stayed after. Would you consider that for us? Yeah. Thank you, there was lots of interest. And when I told other friends of mine about it, they went, oh, could I come? And so it's a thing, this could be a string to your bow.
And should all hang a week where everybody does this second generation by ChatGPT.
Oh, so yes.
You can break one with them.
Boring now.
It's my normal 6 seconds, I make it exciting.
Oh, yeah. We did that a couple of decades ago, being an meeting in Japan, and it got really caught. It did, and we're not doing that again. I'll tell you when the video is.
Yes. Leanne, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just to say the property synergy meeting next week. Come and win it. So yeah, you're all invited. Do after the meeting next week.
Very good.
So,
yes.
I got an invite from the devil itself because I was on for being a Brentwood, asking me to join them. Off you go, and then you got to chat. So let me know you all. Obviously, I went to one with one of those favourite friends, and I'm not very bad. So I mountain with full phone calls and followed up with. But just to make you aware of this actually part of the activity.
Right.
They found a lot of me, and we find lots of people.
Yes.
And I know there are lots of people who burn, but obviously I was there for 2 hours, and I didn't have a bathroom crying halfway through. So if you get 9 activities, it's a wave. You've got lots of middle-aged men and women standing there.
Going like this.
Stand. Oh, honestly, it was a bizarre situation. Yeah, just a heads up, and warning.
Oh dear. All right. Any others? In which case, that's not too shabby. 8:18. You can run off to the rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone.